The evening began with dazzling lights and fake smiles. From the balcony overlooking the grand ballroom of Delaney Grand, I watched the glamorous guests sip champagne, their laughter hollow beneath the glittering chandeliers. It was my father's 60th birthday, an event carefully orchestrated by Victoria, my stepmother, to flaunt our family's wealth and power. I stood quietly in my sleek evening gown, feeling oddly disconnected from it all, as if observing someone else's life unfold below. Beside the marble staircase, my stepbrother Blake swaggered confidently, whispering jokes to Victoria, their laughter cutting sharply through the background hum of conversation. At 25, Blake had never lifted a finger to contribute to our family's hotel empire, preferring late-night parties and endless vacations funded by my father's fortune. But tonight, an unsettling anticipation hung thick in the air. Just as the clock struck 9, my father stepped onto the raised stage, adjusting his tailored suit as he tapped the microphone lightly. A hush fell over the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for celebrating this special occasion with us tonight," he began smoothly. "As you all know, Delaney Hotels has grown tremendously in recent years, and our success requires clear leadership and a strong vision for the future." He paused, scanning the crowd, his eyes briefly meeting mine. For a heartbeat, I felt reassured, recalling his promise. 5 years of endless work, sleepless nights, and unwavering dedication, all building towards this moment. And so, tonight I'm honored to announce the new CEO of Delaney Hotels, my son, Blake Delaney. Gasps filled the room, followed by polite applause. My world tilted violently. I gripped the balcony railing, knuckles white with shock, trying desperately to steady myself as Blake flashed a triumphant grin at Victoria, who raised her champagne glass toward him. My heart shattered silently within my chest, and I realized that every promise my father had ever made to me had been nothing more than an empty lie. I felt my pulse pounding in my ears as my vision blurred. For a moment, the lavish ballroom seemed to fade, replaced by the echo of my father's empty promises. Gathering my strength, I forced myself upright, descending the marble staircase gracefully, determined not to give Blake or Victoria the satisfaction of seeing me crumble. My father stood near the stage, accepting shallow congratulations from people who'd eagerly anticipated a different announcement. Blake caught sight of me approaching, his smile widening with arrogant pleasure. "Emily," he drawled, extending his arms dramatically, "I assume you're thrilled for me. After all, it's for the family's good." I held his gaze, my voice cold and steady. "The family's good or yours, Blake?" He chuckled softly, unfazed. "Same thing, isn't it?" My father cleared his throat uncomfortably, placing a tentative hand on my shoulder. "Emily, I hope you understand this decision. Blake has new ideas, fresh perspectives." I met his eyes, desperately searching for the father who once held me proudly, promising this empire would one day be mine. 5 years, Dad. I rebuilt hotels, secured clients, brought profits back from disaster. Was none of that enough? "Please, Emily," Victoria interjected smoothly, slipping her manicured fingers through my father's arm. "This isn't personal. Blake's approach aligns better with our future vision. For 5 years, I had sacrificed everything, relationships, dreams, and personal happiness, for my father's approval, only to have it stolen effortlessly by Victoria and Blake. But beneath the pain and betrayal, a spark ignited, burning stronger than my despair. They'd taken my inheritance, yes, but not my determination, not my skills, my knowledge, or the quiet strength I'd inherited from my grandmother, Eleanor Delaney. If my father thought I'd surrender quietly, he was gravely mistaken. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Less than 15 minutes later, Hannah's familiar silver sedan pulled sharply into the hotel's driveway, headlights cutting through the darkness. She rushed toward me, concern etched across her face, wrapping me in a fierce, comforting embrace. "Emily, I'm so sorry," she whispered, pulling back slightly to study my face carefully. I can't believe your father would do something like this. I sighed heavily, feeling my shoulders sag with exhaustion. Neither can I. I trusted him, Hannah. I truly believed all those late nights and sacrifices meant something to him. They should have, Hannah replied, anger flashing briefly in her eyes. What did he even say? Did he give you a reason? I shook my head bitterly. Just empty words about new ideas and fresh perspectives. Victoria and Blake manipulated him completely. I feel like such a fool. No, Hannah said firmly, gripping my shoulders gently. You're the smartest, hardest working person I know. They don't deserve you, and deep down they know it. I tried a weak smile, but tears blurred my vision. Maybe, but it doesn't change the fact that Blake now controls the company I pour my heart into. Emily, Hannah said softly, glancing cautiously over her shoulder before lowering her voice. You need to talk to Richard. Tonight. I frowned in confusion. Richard, the family lawyer? Why? She hesitated briefly, choosing her words carefully. Remember the day your grandmother, Eleanor, passed away? He mentioned something important, a secret provision she included in her will. He told you to come to him if anything strange ever happened with the inheritance. My pulse quickened. A secret provision? Are you sure? Why didn't I know about this? Because your grandmother insisted it remain secret unless absolutely necessary, Hannah said urgently. Emily, call him now. Trust me, you need to hear what he has to say. Without another thought, I reached for my phone and dialed Richard's number, my heart thundering in my chest. After several tense rings, his calm, measured voice answered. Emily? I've been expecting your call. His tone was gentle, but filled with gravity. Meet me at my office in 30 minutes. There's something your grandmother left specifically for you. Something your father doesn't know. A strange mixture of hope and apprehension flooded through me. I ended the call and glanced at Hannah, who gave me a reassuring nod. Let's go, I said, feeling strength return to my voice. It's time to find out what my grandmother knew all along. 30 minutes later, Hannah and I stepped into Richard's quiet, dimly lit office, its dark mahogany bookshelves lined with thick volumes of legal texts. Richard greeted me warmly, his gray eyes softening with genuine sympathy. Emily, I'm truly sorry about tonight, he said gently, guiding us to a pair of plush, leather chairs facing his large oak desk. Eleanor feared something like this might happen. That's why she asked me to prepare. Prepare what exactly? I asked cautiously, my heartbeat quickening. Richard walked slowly to a locked cabinet, retrieving a sealed envelope. Returning to his desk, he sat down and carefully slid it toward me. Your grandmother anticipated Victoria's influence on your father. She knew Blake would never earn the empire, but she also understood your father's blind spots when it came to Victoria. So she took precautions. I picked up the envelope with trembling fingers, feeling its weight more heavily than mere paper should allow. I carefully broke the seal, removing a folded document that bore Eleanor Delaney's unmistakably elegant handwriting. My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, then my fears have come true. You've lost your rightful inheritance to manipulation and betrayal, but it is not the end. I've left you something that can't be stolen so easily. My eyes flew upward, meeting Richard's steady gaze. What exactly is she referring to? He smiled softly, leaning forward slightly. A forgotten hotel, Emily, the Evergreen Inn, in the city's historic district. It belonged solely to your grandmother, kept separate from Delaney hotels. Officially closed 5 years ago, its existence is unknown to your father and Victoria. Hannah's eyes widened in surprise. An entire hotel? Eleanor owned it privately? Richard nodded slowly. Eleanor purchased it decades ago, quietly maintaining it until just before her death. Her instructions were clear. If you lost your inheritance unfairly, the Evergreen Inn would pass directly to you. But there's a catch. A catch? I echoed, already sensing what he'd say next. You must restore the hotel fully and turn it into a profitable enterprise within 1 year, he continued seriously. Only then will Eleanor's complete fortune, assets worth millions, officially become yours. A wave of determination surged through me, mingling with anxiety. And what if I fail? Richard sighed softly. Then the inheritance remains locked away indefinitely. Your grandmother wanted to ensure that you wouldn't just survive this betrayal, but truly thrive because of it. Hannah squeezed my hand reassuringly. Emily, you can do this. You've rebuilt hotels before. This is exactly the opportunity you deserve. I took a deep breath, the room feeling strangely lighter, filled with new possibilities. What about my father? Victoria? Blake? They won't let me succeed easily. Richard's expression hardened slightly. Precisely why your grandmother insisted we keep this completely secret. They can't sabotage what they don't know. I stood slowly, feeling strength return to my limbs, a fierce determination growing inside me. Then I'll do it. I'll transform the Evergreen Inn, not just to reclaim what's mine, but to honor Eleanor's faith in me. Richard smiled warmly, pride glowing softly in his eyes. She always believed in you, Emily. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself. As Hannah and I left the office, stepping out into the cool night air, the distant lights of the city seemed brighter, full of hope rather than betrayal. Blake and Victoria had stolen my inheritance once, but now they'd unknowingly handed me the chance to build something even greater. They were about to learn a harsh lesson about betrayal. It cuts both ways. Early the next morning, Hannah and I stood in front of the Evergreen Inn, staring up at its faded grandeur. The old Victorian building was nestled on a quiet, tree-lined street in the historic district, once the vibrant heart of the city, but now overshadowed by newer developments. Ivy climbed the weathered stone facade, its windows darkened from neglect, and the once elegant front door hung slightly crooked. Yet despite its neglected state, I felt an undeniable warmth, a sense of possibility. It's beautiful, Hannah whispered, breaking the silence. Needs a lot of work, though. It's more than that, I replied softly, stepping closer and running my hand across the carved wooden banister leading up to the entrance. It's my chance to reclaim what's been taken from me. Just then, a sleek black SUV slowed down behind us, its window rolling down smoothly to reveal Blake's unmistakable smug expression. My stomach tightened instantly. Well, look who it is. Blake called out mockingly. Scoping out a new career in real estate, Emily? I'd advise something smaller, considering your limited abilities. Hannah stiffened beside me, but I placed a calming hand on her arm, forcing a composed smile. Don't you have a company to run into the ground, Blake? Or has Victoria finally realized you're only good for spending money, not making it? His smile faltered, eyes narrowing slightly. Careful, Emily. If you're not interested in working under me, I suggest you watch your step around town. Wouldn't want your reputation suffering any further. Oh, Blake, I said lightly, maintaining an air of calm authority. The only reputation that's at risk right now is yours. Good luck convincing investors that Delaney Hotels is still in capable hands. His eyes flashed dangerously, but he said nothing more, accelerating sharply and disappearing down the street. Hannah turned toward me with a mixture of admiration and concern. He's going to be trouble, Emily. He won't let this go easily. I nodded slowly, eyes fixed firmly on the inn's faded sign, determination strengthening my voice. Let him try. Blake has money and power, but he lacks something crucial: experience and determination. He thinks he's won, but this battle isn't even close to finished. With renewed resolve, I took out the rusted keys Richard had handed me last night, inserting them carefully into the lock. The heavy door creaked open, revealing a dusty but elegant foyer, sunlight filtering through stained glass windows in muted hues of amber and sapphire. Though neglected, the grandeur beneath the dust spoke volumes. Solid wood floors, a grand staircase spiraling upward, and ornate chandeliers waiting to shine again. Hannah took a deep breath, turning to me with an enthusiastic smile. "Where do we start?" "Right here," I replied firmly, stepping confidently across the threshold. "One room at a time. We're going to rebuild this place, not just as a profitable business, but as proof that I won't be broken by Blake or Victoria." I ran my fingertips along the dusty banister, feeling strangely connected to Eleanor, who had quietly safeguarded this opportunity. They took what belonged to me once. This time, I'll make sure they never take anything from me again. Behind us, the door closed with a decisive echo. The past was sealed away, and ahead lay nothing but possibility, determination, and sweet revenge. Over the following weeks, Hannah and I immersed ourselves completely into the transformation of the Evergreen Inn. Mornings began before sunrise, filled with endless calls to contractors, designers, and suppliers. Every afternoon, we'd inspect progress, supervising each detail meticulously, from restoring the original hardwood floors to installing elegant, energy-efficient lighting. Slowly, the forgotten inn began to emerge from years of neglect, reclaiming its former charm while proudly embracing a new eco-friendly identity. Meanwhile, whispers began circulating through Delaney Hotel's elite circles. Stories about Blake's reckless spending habits and questionable business decisions. Occasionally, my phone buzzed with messages from former employees, loyal workers whom I'd trained myself, expressing frustration at Blake's leadership. I resisted responding, determined to stay focused on my own path, letting the truth reveal itself without my interference. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low behind the city skyline, Hannah appeared in the renovated dining room, her face flushed with excitement. "Emily, you won't believe this," she exclaimed breathlessly. "I just got a call from Alex Carter. He represents the travel group Elite Escapes. They heard rumors about our boutique hotel's reopening and want an exclusive partnership." My heart skipped a beat. Elite Escapes was one of the most influential luxury travel groups in the industry. Landing a partnership with them would catapult the Evergreen Inn into prominence immediately. Did he say what sparked their interest? I asked, hardly daring to breathe. They loved the concept, eco-luxury, boutique charm, and personalized experiences. "But there's more," Hannah added cautiously, lowering her voice slightly. He also mentioned that Delaney Hotels recently lost their contract due to quality issues. Blake's reputation is starting to hurt them badly. I paused thoughtfully, emotions twisting sharply within me. While part of me felt a grim satisfaction at Blake's failures finally becoming public, another part felt a painful twinge for my father's legacy slowly eroding beneath Blake's arrogance and incompetence. "What should we do?" Hannah asked, watching me closely. I took a deep breath, my decision clear. Arrange the meeting. If Delaney Hotels lost this partnership due to Blake's mistakes, it's not our fault. We've earned this opportunity through hard work and vision. It's time the world sees exactly what we've built here. Just as we finished speaking, my phone vibrated insistently. The screen displayed a familiar number, Victoria. I hesitated briefly, my finger hovering uncertainly above the decline button. But something compelled me to answer, curiosity outweighing caution. "Emily," Victoria's voice dripped with false sweetness. "I think it's time you and I had a private conversation." "About what exactly?" I replied, coldly, instantly wary. "About your future," she said, smoothly. "Blake and your father are unaware I'm contacting you, and I'd prefer to keep it that way for now. Meet me tonight at Delaney Grand. It's in your best interests, trust me." As she disconnected abruptly, a sense of foreboding crept up my spine. Hannah looked at me sharply, sensing my unease. "Emily, don't trust her. Whatever Victoria wants, it can't be good." "I know," I admitted quietly, staring out the inn's restored windows into the deepening twilight. "But maybe it's time to confront her head-on. She betrayed me once. This might be my chance to turn her own game against her." I glanced around at the beautifully transformed Evergreen Inn, strength surging through me again. Victoria had manipulated my father, stolen my inheritance, and nearly broken me. But now the balance of power had shifted. Tonight, I'd make sure she finally understood exactly who she was dealing with. That evening, the Delaney Grand felt colder than I remembered. As I entered the lavish hotel lobby, memories of betrayal rushed back, echoing in the empty halls. Victoria waited in a private corner near the grand piano, dressed impeccably in deep burgundy silk, her expression unreadable beneath the elegant facade. "Emily, I'm glad you came," she began smoothly, gesturing gracefully for me to sit across from her. "I assume you're aware of the recent troubles Blake's been facing." I settled into the chair opposite her, maintaining my composure. "Blake's incompetence isn't exactly news. Why are you suddenly concerned?" Victoria's lips tightened briefly, betraying a rare moment of genuine frustration. "Because his mistakes are beginning to threaten everything your father worked for. Clients are abandoning us, investors are nervous, and your father is finally realizing his error." I tilted my head slightly, studying her carefully. "So you invited me here secretly to, what, apologize? Admit you were wrong." She laughed softly, humorlessly. "Hardly. I invited you here because we both know Blake's days as CEO are numbered. Your father regrets his decision. He's quietly searching for ways to correct the situation without humiliating himself publicly." "And let me guess, you want my help cleaning up the mess Blake made?" I interrupted sharply, barely concealing my disgust. "Victoria, you betrayed me. You manipulated my father and robbed me of everything I earned." "Yes," she admitted coldly, dropping any pretense of charm. "I did, and it worked until Blake ruined everything. Now we have a mutual enemy. Help me remove Blake, and I promise your father will give you back control." A bitter laugh escaped me, genuine and harsh. "Control of what? A sinking ship that you sabotaged." She leaned forward, eyes sharp. "You have the skills and connections to fix this. Imagine reclaiming the empire that should have been yours, proving everyone wrong." I shook my head slowly, suddenly seeing clearly the desperate cracks in her carefully crafted armor. "You still don't understand, do you? I don't need your sinking empire. I've built something stronger, something that neither you nor Blake can touch." Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "That little boutique hotel? Emily, don't be naive. You'll never survive against the Delaney brand, even weakened as it is." I stood slowly, looking down at her calmly. "Actually, Victoria, I'm already thriving, while your world crumbles beneath Blake's recklessness. Your desperation tonight only proves how fragile your position truly is." For the first time, genuine fear flashed briefly in her eyes before vanishing behind her polished mask. "Emily, wait!" "No," I interrupted firmly. "The only thing you'll ever receive from me is the pleasure of watching me succeed where you failed." Turning sharply, I left her sitting alone beneath the glittering lights of the lobby, her desperate gaze burning into my back. Outside, the city air filled my lungs, crisp and cleansing. Victoria and Blake had tried everything: deception, betrayal, manipulation, but they had underestimated me every step of the way. As I walked confidently toward my waiting car, a message lit up my phone screen. "Alex Carter from Elite Escapes confirmed our partnership meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning." A victorious smile curved my lips. Victoria had unknowingly handed me the final piece I needed. Proof that Delaney Hotels was imploding from within. It was no longer simply about reclaiming what had been stolen. Now it was about proving to the world and myself that the greatest revenge was success, undeniable and absolute. The next morning, sunlight poured through the tall windows of the Evergreen Inn's elegant, newly refurbished lobby, casting a warm, golden glow over everything. Alex Carter arrived precisely at 9, sharply dressed and projecting an air of quiet authority. As he toured the hotel, His admiration became increasingly apparent, his eyes carefully noting every detail, from the eco-friendly amenities in the guest suites to the carefully curated, locally sourced menu Hannah had meticulously designed. "This place is exceptional," Alex finally said, turning to me with genuine enthusiasm. "I've visited countless hotels, but your vision here, sustainable luxury with true authenticity, is exactly what Elite Escapes is looking for." Relief and pride surged within me simultaneously. "I'm thrilled to hear that. We've poured everything into creating something special, something meaningful." "It shows," Alex nodded approvingly, pulling out a contract from his briefcase. "With Delaney Hotels no longer meeting our standards, we need a fresh face to represent our brand. I'd like the Evergreen Inn to become our flagship partner for sustainable luxury experiences." My pulse raced as I accepted the contract, scanning quickly through the generous terms. "Alex, this partnership could change everything for us." He smiled warmly. "It's already changing the industry. Your grandmother would be proud, Emily." I paused briefly, surprised. "You knew Eleanor?" Alex's expression softened fondly. "My parents stayed at this hotel during its prime years. Eleanor had a reputation, a remarkable businesswoman with extraordinary foresight. She always said her granddaughter would carry her legacy further than anyone imagined." Emotion swelled in my throat as I signed the contract, the gravity of the moment settling over me. Eleanor had envisioned this moment long before I did. Her legacy was finally becoming my own. As Alex departed, Hannah embraced me tightly, her excitement uncontainable. "Emily, you did it. Eleanor was right. This was your destiny all along." Before I could respond, my phone rang, an unfamiliar urgency vibrating insistently. I answered cautiously, hearing a strained voice on the other end. "Emily, it was my father," his tone heavy with desperation. "I need to see you. Blake has done something terrible. Delaney Hotels is finished unless you help us." My heart tightened painfully. "Dad, what could I possibly do now? Blake took everything." "I was wrong," he admitted quietly, his voice cracking slightly. "Emily, please. We need you." I stood silently, the weight of his confession pressing upon me. Hannah touched my arm gently, her eyes filled with quiet understanding. "Tell him to come here," she whispered softly. "Let him see exactly what you've built without him." With a deep breath, I steadied my voice. "Fine, Dad. Meet me at the Evergreen Inn in an hour." But I promised nothing. Ending the call, I stared thoughtfully at the hotel around me, the masterpiece I had created from betrayal and loss. My father had chosen Blake once, believing him capable of greatness while discarding me carelessly. Now he would see firsthand the price of that mistake. But forgiveness would not come easily if it came at all. Exactly 1 hour later, my father arrived, stepping hesitantly through the front door of the Evergreen Inn. He looked older than I remembered, lines of worry etched deeply into his face, his posture lacking the confidence that had once defined him. Standing awkwardly near the lobby entrance, he took in the transformation I'd accomplished, awe and regret mingling painfully in his expression. "Emily," he began quietly, voice strained with genuine remorse, "you've done remarkable things here." I studied him silently, holding back a storm of conflicting emotions. "It's amazing what you can achieve when no one's actively sabotaging you," I finally replied, keeping my voice steady but cold. He flinched slightly, clearly wounded by my words. "You have every right to be angry. I allowed Victoria's ambitions and Blake's empty promises to blind me. I betrayed you, and I'm truly sorry." I hesitated, his apology catching me off guard, sincerity evident in every word. Yet the hurt still lingered sharply beneath my skin. "Dad, why are you really here?" I asked bluntly, unwilling to soften just yet. He sighed heavily, shame and weariness evident in his slumped shoulders. "Blake has destroyed everything. Financial irregularities, scandals involving guest safety, investors are fleeing. The authorities are involved now. were facing bankruptcy within days. My heart tightened. This was far worse than I'd anticipated. What exactly do you expect me to do? Fix the mess Blake created? No, he admitted painfully. It's beyond fixing. But investors trust you. Your reputation is impeccable, Emily. If you publicly endorsed us, perhaps we'd have a fighting chance. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head in disbelief. You want me to stake my reputation, the one you and Blake almost destroyed on your sinking ship? Why should I help you now? Because Delaney Hotels was meant to be your inheritance, he said desperately, meeting my gaze fully. Because I finally realize how wrong I was. Emily, I'm asking as your father. Please help us. Silence stretched between us, heavy and charged with memories. Finally, I shook my head softly. Dad, you took away everything I'd worked for. You chose Blake, knowing exactly who he was. Now you have to live with those consequences. He nodded slowly, defeat settling in his expression. I understand. You've built something extraordinary here, something I failed to protect. Eleanor was right about everything. He turned to leave, shoulders sagging in resignation. My heart twisted painfully, but I spoke again before he reached the door. Dad, wait. He paused, turning back cautiously. I won't rescue Delaney Hotels, I stated firmly. But when your company collapses, and it will, I promise I'll buy back the Delaney Graham myself. I'll rebuild it and name it after Eleanor. Your legacy won't end with your mistakes. It'll end with her strength, through me. A faint glimmer of pride lit his tired eyes. Eleanor Grand, he echoed softly. That's fitting. She would be proud of you. I nodded gently, my own emotions threatening to surface. She taught me how to turn betrayal into strength. I wish you'd understood that earlier. He left quietly, the heavy door closing softly behind him. Standing alone in the grand lobby of the inn I'd resurrected, I felt a powerful clarity. My revenge was complete, not through anger, but through resilience. My grandmother's legacy was secure, and mine was just beginning. 2 months later, the inevitable happened. Headlines blazed across every major news outlet, announcing the collapse of Delaney Hotels. Blake had vanished overseas, desperately evading the authorities amid mounting criminal investigations. Victoria had retreated into seclusion, her influence shattered overnight. My father, meanwhile, remained behind to face the ruin, his once esteemed name forever stained by scandal and betrayal. True to my word, I quietly arranged to acquire Delaney Grand through a swift, discreet transaction. With Hannah by my side, I stood at the hotel's entrance on the morning we took formal ownership, feeling a deep sense of triumph and closure. It's finally yours, Emily, Hannah whispered softly, pride evident in her voice. Everything you fought for. Not yet, I replied thoughtfully, tracing the elegant, faded gold lettering above the hotel's grand doors. This place needs a new name, a fresh start. Stepping forward decisively, I handed the new nameplate design to the waiting contractors, feeling an overwhelming surge of gratitude toward the woman who'd believed in me from the beginning, Eleanor Delaney. Within hours, Delaney Grand was replaced forever, becoming the Eleanor Grand, a symbol of resilience, determination, and justice. That evening, as the sun dipped low over the city skyline, I invited my father back, allowing him to see what had become of his legacy. He stood quietly, staring upward at the hotel's new name, tears welling subtly in his eyes. You did it, he murmured softly, voice thick with emotion. You've given your grandmother the legacy she deserved, the legacy I nearly destroyed. I studied him carefully, the bitterness that once consumed me now replaced by quiet strength. She gave me something far greater than money or power. She gave me a chance to discover what I'm truly capable of. He nodded gently, regret evident in every line of his face. Emily, I don't expect forgiveness, but I need you to know how deeply sorry I am for everything. I paused, the past replaying briefly in my mind, before extending a hand toward him with quiet grace. I won't forget what happened, Dad, but I won't let anger control me anymore, either. Eleanor believed that real strength lies in moving forward. Maybe we both need to remember that. He grasped my hand gratefully, his eyes glistening with unspoken relief. Together, we stood beneath the glittering lights of Eleanor Grand, each silently acknowledging the painful road we'd traveled separately, yet finally united by hard-earned wisdom. As night settled over the city, I stepped back inside my hotel, where guests already marveled at its elegant rebirth. Eleanor's portrait now hung prominently in the main lobby, her serene, confident smile reminding me daily of how far I'd come, from betrayal and heartbreak to resilience and redemption. My father left quietly, carrying the weight of his choices, but also newfound respect for the daughter he'd once so grievously underestimated. And for me, revenge had transformed into something far sweeter and more powerful. True fulfillment, born from strength and determination rather than anger and bitterness. In the end, my inheritance had never truly been about hotels or wealth, but about discovering the courage within myself to reclaim what was rightfully mine, my dignity, my strength, and my grandmother's legacy. And I knew, deep within my heart, Eleanor Delaney would have been proud. 2 years passed quickly, marked by growth, fulfillment, and profound clarity. Standing proudly at the entrance of the Eleanor Grand on its grand reopening night, I felt a deep, peaceful satisfaction radiating from within. Hannah stood beside me, radiant in her elegant gown, softly laughing with the guests who had come from across the country to celebrate our remarkable success. The hotel was filled with warmth, laughter, and genuine appreciation, a stark contrast to the cold, empty halls Blake and Victoria had created. Blake, I'd learned through whispers in the industry, remained abroad, living in obscurity, stripped of his status and privilege, haunted by the consequences of his actions. Victoria had attempted unsuccessfully to regain her social standing, but had disappeared quietly from the public eye, her name now only a cautionary tale whispered among the city's elite. My father, humbled by his downfall, yet finding redemption in honest labor, had begun consulting small businesses, guiding others away from the mistakes he once made. Our relationship, though never fully restored, had evolved into something quietly respectful, built from scars, honesty, and mutual understanding. As the evening continued, I slipped away briefly, standing alone on the hotel's rooftop terrace, gazing thoughtfully out over the glittering city skyline. In the distance, lights twinkled brightly, mirroring the clarity and strength I'd discovered within myself through hardship and betrayal. For the first time, I truly understood Eleanor's wisdom. Life's greatest lessons rarely came wrapped in comfort. Sometimes we needed to lose everything we thought we wanted, to discover something far greater, our own resilience, dignity, and purpose. My grandmother had known this truth all along, patiently guiding me toward it. If I could share just one piece of wisdom gained through my journey, it would be this: betrayal can destroy you or it can define you. The choice lies solely within your hands. Revenge, I've learned, isn't found in bitterness or anger. True revenge, the sweetest revenge, is building a life so powerful, meaningful, and successful that those who wronged you are forced to witness your unbreakable spirit. As I returned downstairs, stepping confidently into the warmth and joy of Eleanor Grand, I felt Eleanor's presence strongly, smiling proudly upon the legacy we'd built together. This wasn't just revenge. It was redemption. It was triumph. And above all, it was proof that no one can ever take away your value unless you willingly surrender it. I chose never to surrender again, and neither should you.